I have to give a hat tip to one of our listeners for this this next question because he asked it to me on social media. Cornelius is the one. I don't know if that's his real name. Could just be a name that he uses on Twitter. But the question was a simple one. For Football at 4 today, we're looking at the Panthers. Obviously, they have the 8th overall pick. The question was simple. Who do the Panthers want to draft at 8 with the 8th overall pick that they can't trade back and still get? Right? Because I'll tell you right now, and it's actually, I don't want to call it annoying because love our listeners and I love the feedback. The frequency of the comment is a little repetitive for me. Trade back, trade back, trade back. Every time I float out like, oh, this edge rusher could be the pick at 8. Trade back is better. Hey, could it be Tepper McMillan? Trade back is better. Would they consider a corner? Trade back is better. I get it. You want to trade back. And I actually think trading back is most fan base's number one option, right? Because in their mind, it's like, the magic beans. We could trade back and get 900 picks. That's 900 all-pros, right? Why get one all-pro when we can get 4 all-pros for trading back? But there is this question, right? Who do the Panthers want at 8 that they can't trade back and still get becomes an interesting deal because a lot of the names mentioned by the analysts, the mock drafters, and I know that's an inexact science, but a lot of the names mentioned for the Panthers at 8 seem to be falling, right? Tepper McMillan we mentioned. He seemed like a lock to go top 10 a month ago, but based on some of the buzz, he might be falling into the mid to late first. Some of the edge rushers, Mykel Williams didn't run fast enough at his pro day. Jalen Carter might be a little smaller. James Pierce is pretty consistently being mocked into the late part of the first. Mike Green has some off-the-field stuff in his past that is reportedly giving teams pause. Those are the players that I saw most often mocked to the Panthers at number 8. Now, the answer to the question is simple. Like if they want Michigan corner Will Johnson, if Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham, or Penn State tight end Tyler Warren fall a bit, and those are the players you want, I think you have to stick and pick at 8. But what if the Panthers, right? Then now it's mock draft season, so what if we're okay with it now? What if the Panthers truly want James Pierce Jr., guy from Charlotte, went to Tennessee? If he were 20 pounds heavier, he'd be in the mix for being a top 3 pick. He's an edge rusher. What if they have at the top of it, like number 1 on their wish list is James Pierce Jr. And they are confident he won't be drafted before pick 17. Well, if you can move back, even if you only get $1, if you move back and you get the guy that you would have drafted anyway, that's good business, right? Because when fans scream at me, move back, oh, trade back, my thought always is, well, you want to make sure you get a return. My thought always is it takes 2 to tango. Somebody has to want to move up in order to let you move back. But if you're willing to trust your gut, trust your double secret agents that are giving you info from around the league that say the next 5 picks are definitely not the player you want, and you have your friends across the league telling you that, if you trust it, well, then you can almost sell your pick for a discount. We'll give you the 8th pick for the price of the 10th pick because getting anything additional and the player we would have drafted 8th is better than getting nothing additional and taking that player 8th. Do you know what that is, though? Baller. That is nervy as heck. That is, I can't imagine the intensity in that draft room as you try to pull that off. We want Jalen Carter, linebacker, Georgia. We have the 8th pick. He's available at the 8th pick. He's there. We can pick him. He's ours. But our information says, our analysis says he'd be available at 20. So who has the 20th pick? That's Denver, right? Denver wants to move up and get Genty. And he's available at 8 too. So we go, all right, give us your offer. And they maybe don't knock our socks off. They don't Godfather offer us, right? They're not making us an offer we can't refuse. But we accept the deal anyway. Why? Because we're confident Jalen Carter is going to be there at 20, so getting anything is better. Can you imagine that weight? Those 12 picks? Every time that little ding-ding-ding pick is in, every time the commissioner walks to the front of that podium and says, with the next pick, and you're just sitting there fingers crossed going, don't say Jalen Carter, don't say and every time they don't, there's a little fist bump, but you know you still have a long way to go. That's real nervy. Now, if you can pull it off, if your information is correct, if you pull it off, you get an extra second, you get an extra couple of, I don't know what the compensation would be, a couple of thirds, you get the extra compensation, and your player that you would have taken at 8, you get him later on in the draft, you are a genius. Dan Morgan, GM of the Panthers. But if he gets drafted 14th, if somebody threw you the old okie doke, if they said, no, we're not interested, and then they take him, if your information, your double secret agents, your reconnaissance was wrong, you look like a fool because you sold your 8th pick at a discount and you didn't get your guy. Now you're settling for your 2nd, 3rd, 4th option and you didn't get the value you wanted. That's tough. It's a risk. And Dan Morgan has not shown patience in the draft. He has not shown to be the type of guy, the type of GM that trades back and then waits. What did he do to go get Xavier Legette? He traded up 1 pick. It's my least favorite move in the NFL. Trading up 1 pick. He went from 33 to 32 up to get Xavier Legette. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. By the way, I hate any time you trade up 1 pick because, you know, the player was that good, the team right there wouldn't have been passing it to you. Who's next? They're moving 1 back. You probably had to tell them who you're drafting. It's. I just don't like it. It reeks of desperation. What else did Dan Morgan do last year? He actually traded back in the 2nd round. Got one of the largest hauls in the history of trading away a 2nd round pick. Because who was it? The Rams wanted to go up and get the defensive tackle from Florida State. Traded back, and I was like, look at this. That's great. What'd they do right after that? They couldn't wait for the pick that they had, the other 2nd rounder that they had. They had to trade up to get who? Jonathan Brooks, a running back who was actively had a torn ACL. You didn't think he would make it to your pick? It would be a complete role reversal. It would be a complete 180 from what we've seen from Dan Morgan to pull off the type of value addition that we're talking about here. More than likely what would happen is he would trade from 8 to 17, whatever it is, and then he would trade up to 15 and give up a lot of that value because he's desperate to get it. Like, that's what we've seen. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's different strokes for different GMs. Some GMs, volume shooters. Right? I trade back, I get as many picks as possible, and I hope that 2 or 3 of them pan out. Right? Think Belichick at the prime of the Patriots. Right? He'll trade back and turn his 1st into 2 seconds. He'll trade one of those seconds into 2 thirds. He'll turn one of those thirds into 2 fourths. And by the end of the draft, he's gotten an extra pick in every round. And then he'll cut 2 of them before the next season starts because he's cold-blooded. Like their volume. And then there are teams that are get your guy. Right? Well, if I'm picking at 8 and I want this player, why would I trade out of 8 if that player's available? That's my guy. And if that's what the Panthers are going to be, that's fine. But then fans have to learn not to continue yelling, trade back, trade back, trade back. Because that's just not in the DNA of the GM. Now, if you do that, you have to have a bit higher hit rate, right? You have to, if you're always picking your guy and regardless of if it's a, player with a 2nd round grade by most, you take him in the 1st because it's your guy, you have to be right. You're going to be on an outlier, you have to be right, but that's fine. Like, trust your gut if that's what your gut's telling you. If you want James Pierce, you think he's going to be drafted 17th, there's 2 ways to make that happen, or 2 ways to act. If you want him, you can take him at 8, or you can try to trade back to somewhere between 8 and 17, get more value, and hope he's still there. But that takes a little bit of verve, and a lot of nerve, and some guts, and some people that trust you in that room. That, to me, would be one of the more tense situations in sports. You think like the final timeout huddle when you need a buzzer beater in March Madness is tense. At least everybody there is tired and they feel like they can impact it. Being in a draft room where we need this guy to fall 4 more picks. Goodness gracious. But a ding, ding, ding. A trade has been executed. Oh, no. Who's trading? Looking at all your scouts. Did you know about this? Dan Morgan's a scary individual anyway. Remember him playing linebacker.